Welcome into 574 Sports here on 91.1 The Globe, your home for Maple Leaf Athletics. My name is Spencer Buttermore.
And my name is William Troyer. Today, Tanner Camp sits down with the Maple Leaf Athlete of the Week, and we're also going to be talking some men's soccer.
And also later on the show, we have women's volleyball along with women's basketball. That's all coming your way here on 574 Sports on 91.1 The Globe.
Welcome to 574 Sports. My name is Tanner Camp, and along to my right here we have senior Billy Geschke from the men's basketball team. He is this week's Maple Leaf Athlete of the Week. That week he had 27 points while shooting 64% from the three-point and 94% from the free throw line. He's leading his team right now to a 2-1 start to the season. He had 18 points against Lawrence Tech, 33, which is a career high for him, against Governor State, and 20 points against Calumet College. First off, Billy, congratulations on this award. Definitely. How does it feel to be this week's Maple Leaf Athlete of the Week?
It feels good. You know, it's a great accomplishment, and, you know, I kind of stay humble about it too, though. I don't really talk about it with much people. I really just talk to my family about it. But, you know, it's a pleasure and it's an honor, and, you know, it just feels great to be Athlete of the Week.
Way to stay humble right there. That's a great mindset. And speaking of that, going into those 3 games, especially knowing that it's your last year here at Goshen College, what was your mindset going into those games?
You know, just stay aggressive. You know, I've always been aggressive on the offensive end, like, throughout my whole basketball career, and, you know, that was kind of like the main objective for me, is just to always, like, be efficient on the offensive end, and, you know, I felt like I definitely delivered in those 3 games, and, you know, I'm looking to keep doing that as the season goes on.
And you definitely delivered, and we are very excited for as the entire season goes on. And I talked to you about, you know, it is your final year here at GC. You've done a lot. So what did you do over the summer to prepare for your final season as a Maple Leaf?
You know, I worked on a lot of my game, especially on the defensive end. I played in a Pro-Am league over the summer back in my hometown, and there was a lot of good athletes on the team, a lot of Division I players, overseas players, and I think that was definitely my mindset, is to be a better defensive player, because, you know, that's something I've always needed to work on throughout my whole basketball career, and, you know, I just want to keep working on that as the season goes on too.
Turn those weaknesses into a strength, and again, also shown with that with this team. How would you say that so far that the team is doing? You know, we just started through 3 games in, 2-1, pretty good start. So how would you say the team is doing, both in terms of the actual games and then just the overall chemistry level within the group?
I think we're doing pretty solid so far. You know, 2-1's not a bad start. You know, we could have been 3-0 possibly over the last weekend. But, you know, I think with team chemistry, I think this has been the closest group of guys that we've had that, like, have been together. And, like, on and off the court, we're always keeping each other up, always keeping a positive mindset, you know, always trusting one another. I think if we stick with that process, getting better in practice, I think we're going to come a long way in the season. And
that connection helps both off the court, and you said on the court, it definitely shows with that. So far, again, still early in the season. We got a long season ahead of us. But what would you say that your favorite moment of this season, whether it be in a game, whether it even be preseason or anything before that, what would you say your favorite moment has been so far?
I think so far is winning our first home game, because, you know, that's my last first home game ever as a Goshen Maple Leaf. And it just felt good getting that win. And, you know, that was definitely, like, the big, like, thing I wanted to do, was win our last first home game. So it felt good winning.
And again, a very, very good good first win to show the home crowd, since they will not be back in action till around late November. So great start for that. And then final question is that what are you most looking forward to? Again, last season you've got one more chance to kind of make a name for yourself. What are you most looking forward to?
Probably definitely get into the Crossroads League and get into conference play. You know, that's when it's bigger go home, honestly, because I think that's when the season starts to count and it really starts to matter. You know, every game matters, obviously, especially for my last year. Like, I want to make every game count, but there's just something about the Crossroads Conference that just makes it just care a little bit more.
And especially for men's basketball, always a challenge. Very good teams. Going to be very exciting to see how the Maple Leafs do this year. So with that, any final thoughts, comments, inspirational quotes that you want to give?
No, I don't think so. No, I'm good.
All right, cool. Billy, once again, congratulations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll be right back here on 574 Sports.
.1 The Globe on 574 Sports. My name is Spencer Buttermore. Now, Tanner Camp and I are going to talk a little bit of volleyball. Unfortunately, the Maple Leafs lost to Grace College by a score of 3-0, ending their season for the 2017 campaign. They went 12-19 overall, 4-14 in conference play. And Tanner, you were on the call of the other night's game against Grace College. And what did you see from the team? It was a 3-0 loss, but what were some of the positives they can look forward to go into the next season?
Well, one of the big positives was that they can play with those top teams. I mean, part of it is they had such a big recruiting class, one of the best ones in the Crossroads actually going into the season. And part of it was that of those 3 sets that they lost, 2 went into extra points, including the last one, which was, I believe it was 29-27, the final score. So it just shows that, and they're only losing 2 seniors in Chrissy Swartzendruber and Megan Gerke. So they're going to bring basically everyone else back, and I know that they're already starting on some stuff for next season, from my understanding, and so I know that they're going to be prepared for that and get the newbies their feet a little more wet and get ready for next year for their sophomore campaign.
Yeah, they did have a lot of freshmen playing for a lot of time here this season, and for all these points. So you have to think that by now that they're kind of already ready to go for that next season. They can already know what to expect. But once you start out, I mean, in your freshman year, especially since volleyball, it starts right when school starts. They're trying to get adjusted to the whole college thing. You have to think it's going to be a little tough on the freshmen to kind of get going, and that might have been due to the slow start they had on the volleyball team.
And absolutely, you know, it's a big class, accounts from probably about half the team, and like you said, adjusting to a new level of sport from high school to college and adjusting to the academics and the campus itself. But now that they've gotten that experience and a lot played a significant number of points, next season they should be in full swing and ready to go. And I could see a good number of those freshmen even being put in starting spots for next year. So I know Jim Ruthier is really looking forward to working with them over the summer.
Yeah, and taking a look at the conference season for the Maple Leafs, once again, they went 4-14 in conference play. They had a good stretch there towards the end of September. They picked up 3 of their 4 conference wins. They were able to defeat Taylor on September 22nd, defeated Spring Arbor University as well as Mount Vernon University. And then they kind of had a big gap, and they didn't have any matches from September 29th all the way up until October 11th. So a really big gap right there. So that you have to think that kind of plays a part within how many conference games you guys do win on the season.
Definitely, absolutely. And I know Jim Ruthier explained at the beginning of the season that one of their goal was to stay consistent with their play, both just in matches and throughout the entire season. And that sometimes happened for certain different sets. They would start off really well, but all of a sudden they would just kind of die down a little bit. So I think that's something that he's going to continue to emphasize because it is really important. As you said, a little stretch where they were at really great, 3 of their 4 wins were during a little 4-match stretch, and then there was a long stretch where they just couldn't really get much going. So consistency is going to be something that they need to focus on as you just play, as they learn from this season, and they're going to learn next season too.
And so with the offseason coming up here, their season is over, ended at 12-19, 4-14 in the conference. Tanner, in your eyes, what is one thing that they need to kind of work on over the postseason in order to get ready for the 2018 campaign?
They just need to improve the freshman class because it's going to count for a majority of their roster, and if they can get better, that's going to be very useful. I mean, you've got some key players coming back: Allie Rohr, Haley Vandevel, Lindsey McQuinn, Darian Moss, and those are already fantastic players. And the idea that they're bringing in some more freshmen who did very well this year, if they can improve, this team could be really dangerous both next year and even the year after that. So improving the freshman class and getting them that next step they need to have a very successful season.
And so that's going to wrap up the volleyball season for us here on 91.1 The Globe. We'll update you on some of the things they've been working on in the gym coming up here in the next coming weeks, and also obviously next year we're going to be getting ready for the 2018 season right here on 91.1 The Globe. So Tanner, thank you for sitting down with me and talking some Goshen College women's volleyball. We're going to take a quick timeout, but we'll be back here on 91.1 The Globe and 574 Sports. Back here on 91.1 The Globe, my name is Spencer Buttermore once again, here with William Trayer. Now we're joined by Allison Prigge as well. Now we're going to be talking some women's basketball. Allison Prigge is a player on the women's basketball team, and Will and I got a chance to call the game that happened on Halloween last Tuesday as they took on the Aquinas College Saints. It was a tough loss for the Maple Leafs in that one by a score of 44-39. They had a little bit of a rough start there in the first quarter, Will.
Yeah, the Maple Leafs came out a little bit slow. They were down 24-14 going into halftime. A big defensive game by the Maple Leafs, so they would just slow the Aquinas College Saints. So that's a good sign for the Maple Leafs looking ahead, as they're a very young team with a lot of freshmen coming in.
Yeah, speaking of being a young team, we talked to Coach Steph Miller before the game, and that's one of the talking points that she really wanted to own in on, is that they did bring in a lot of freshmen this year, and a lot of those freshmen are getting playing time. Allison, how have you been seeing the freshmen adjust here so far in the season? I know you guys are only 2 games in, but you guys have had quite a few practices as well.
Right, we've been practicing since the beginning of the year. I think they've adjusted really well, especially for kind of being just thrown to the wolves, you know. The biggest thing that I think they've had to adjust to is the physicality and the pace of college basketball compared to high school basketball. It's just a completely different game, but I think that they've adjusted really well.
Yeah, you know, one thing that Coach Miller wanted to talk about too is you talked about the aggressiveness and kind of the physicality of the game. And Holy Cross, when they did play Holy Cross, they did have quite a few turnovers in that game. Now, they were able to limit those turnovers against Aquinas College, but there were still quite a few number of turnovers going into that game. And they came out after the halftime break. They were trailing by 10, 24-14, but able to make a little bit of a run there to start off the third quarter. And Carly O'Neill knocked down a few big threes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that with both games being at home and so early in the season, the nerves kind of got to us a little bit, I would say, especially because we are such a young team, so inexperienced that kind of being under the lights, you know, I think got to us a little bit. The pressure got to us.
Yeah, so taking a look at to this weekend, you guys are going to be traveling up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to play in the Cardinal Stritch Classic. That's going to be a 2-game series. There's going to be one on Friday night as well, a game on Saturday, depending on who you guys win. It's going to be taking on kind of a little tournament, a mini tournament, if you say, with 4 teams. So what's a few things you guys have been working on here in practice this week in order to prepare for this weekend's tournament?
Right. One thing that we talked about for sure was Cardinal Stritch has been to nationals the last couple of years, and with them being such an experienced team and us being so inexperienced, our offense is kind of struggling right now. So one thing that Coach kind of talked about is the only thing that's going to help is time and experience that comes with that. So, you know, we're just going to keep pushing and trying to get some buckets, but like we're really focusing on our defense because we know that that's something that we can control. No matter who we're playing, we're going to mix it up with some zone and man sets and just hoping that our defense can keep us in games right now.
Now, taking a look back at the Aquinas game once again, it was a 44-39 loss, but they were down by 10 at the halftime break. But coming out in the third quarter, Carly O'Neill was lights out from beyond the arc to start off the third quarter. I think she knocked 2 down in a row right there to get the Maple Leafs back into the game. But she's been one of the leading scorers so far here for the team, and they kind of really need to find another player to step up. Will?
Yeah, when they were running low on the shot clock, they would look to Carly O'Neill. They're going to need to find somebody else that can step up and knock down a big shot when they need it. That's going to definitely be something they need to look for going ahead in this season if they want to improve.
And they're definitely going to want to be looking forward to finding another leading scorer. I mean, Carly O'Neill is the only one to be in double digits for both games so far here to start off the season. She had 13 against Aquinas College, but they weren't able to get the job done as just going down the stretch there, the Aquinas College Saints were able to make the free throws to go on to win the victory. So they'll be playing in the Cardinal Stritch Classic this weekend. That's going to be up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be right back here on 574 Sports on 91.1 The Globe. 91.1 The Globe, your home for Maple Leaf Athletics. My name is Spencer Buttermore. Sitting down with me is William Troyer, also Tanner Camp, going to be talking a little bit of men's soccer. And they came off a huge win in the first round of the Crossroads League tournament, a score of 2-1 over Indiana Wesleyan. Will, you were on the call of that game. What did you see that the Maple Leafs did really well?
It was a great game. They controlled the ball a lot, which is something they've really stressed this entire season. They were able to get goals from Spencer Ashelman and Stuart Ashelman to win 2-1.
And so, yeah, they had a 2-1 win, and they even had to go on the road to Indiana Wesleyan. And just in the previous week, back to October 25th, they went down to Indiana Wesleyan, lost by a score of 2-0, so completely flipped the script on that one. And now they're going down to Grace College. They're going to be going down there later today for a 7 o'clock kickoff. And they lost to Grace 1-0 on senior night by an own goal.
Now, one thing to also take into consideration is that with the Indiana Wesleyan, Aaron Patrick was talking about the idea they were trying to bounce back from that really tough loss to Indiana Wesleyan. So you know that they're going to have that mindset again with Grace, as you said, lost on senior night 1-0. So it's going to be on the road. It should be a great contest. And I expect the Maple Leafs to kind of have that chip on their shoulder just like they did in the Indiana Wesleyan game. It should be an exciting match.
Yeah, in Grace College isn't that far of a drive. It's just down the road in Wyona Lake, Indiana, about a half-hour drive. So not really worrying about that super long drive down to it could be a Huntington or even the Indiana Wesleyan, which is about a 2-hour drive. Also, the Mount Vernon drive that we all know here in the Crossroads League can be a real tough one. But yeah, looking back, they lost to Grace College by a score of 1-0, going down to Grace College now. This is the semifinals, and if they're able to pick up the win on Saturday against Grace College, they'll be able to take on either Spring Arbor or Huntington in the Crossroads League Championship.
And with the win by Goshen and a win by Spring Arbor, they will be sent to nationals in late November, so that would be a huge accomplishment for the Maple Leafs.
So an automatic bid because Spring Arbor did win the conference. So whoever wins the conference does get an automatic bid. But then when we take a look at if the Spring Arbor, who was the conference champion, if they go ahead and make it to the championship, whoever makes it along with them does get an automatic bid as well. So that's what Goshen is hoping for. A Goshen win and a Spring Arbor wins means they're going down to Florida for the national championship starting November 27th, and I think running till
And I think that's one thing that Aaron Patrick has told us, guys, the idea that they know that this game right here is almost as big as if they made it to the league championship, but the idea that they know this game right here, and if a Spring Arbor win, they're automatically in. So, there's probably going to be a little bit of pressure, but I know that they're going to work especially hard in practice, with it coming up here really soon, and the idea that there's a lot of pressure to it, the idea of a win here, and they could automatically qualify for nationals, and a loss, most likely they won't get in. So there's got to be some nerves with there, but with the leadership they have from different types of players, both on the offense and defensive end, I think they got a great chance to pull some stuff together and potentially get a win against the Lancers on Saturday.
Yeah, so right now the team sits at 12-5-2 after picking up against that win against Indiana Wesleyan University. Like we said, the men's soccer team is going down to Grace College to take on the Lancers. That's going to be later on today starting at 7 o'clock. You can hear that game right here on 91.1 The Globe and at globeradio.org. William Troyer and Brad Stoltzfus will be on the call pregame starting at about 6:45. We wish the team the best of luck as they look to go into the Crossroads League Tournament Championship. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more action right here on 574 Sports on 91.1 The Globe. Before we go, we have the Saturday schedule for the Maple Leafs, starting off the cross-country teams.
The men's and women's cross-country teams will travel to Carmel, Indiana to run in the Crossroads League Championship that begins Saturday morning.
And also the men's basketball team is going to be competing in the Caleb Dinmich Memorial Classic down in Marion, Indiana. And also the women's basketball team travels to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to compete in the Cardinal Stritch Classic. Both of these, more information about these games can be found on GoLeafs.net.
Finally, the men's soccer team will travel to Grace College to compete in the Crossroads League semifinal that begins at 7 o'clock. Brad Stoltzfus and myself will be on the call.
That is all we have for you here today at 574 Sports. For William Troyer and myself, thanks for joining us right here on 91.1 The Globe, your home for Maple Leaf Athletics.